We warned you. Donald Trump is trying to purge the federal government of career civil servants and replace them with his handpicked cronies. Welcome back to Democracy Docket. I'm Marc Elias.
And I'm Paige Moskowitz. Let's get started.
Paige, if there's any issue that Democracy Docket covered more than anyone else and was at the forefront of, and we did several videos and the team did amazing reporting on this, it was Project 2025. And at the heart of Project 2025 was an effort to replace government on the merits with cronyism. And we have seen that now, unfortunately, start to take place in the new Trump administration. And Paige, I fear we've only seen the beginning.
Right, Mark. At the end of Trump's first term, he issued an executive order known as Schedule F, which basically was an effort to reclassify thousands of federal workers so that they could be fired and more easily replaced. Now, that order was quickly rescinded by President Biden once he got into office. But with Trump back in power on his first day, he reissued a version of Schedule F to make it easier to fire and replace federal employees.
Yeah, and he wants to do this because he is afraid that the federal employees who are nonpartisan will not break the law or disregard department policy in the way in which people he handpicks might do that. We're already seeing it in some of the earliest actions from this administration. The way, for example, he is appointing interim heads of agencies, some of the early layoffs. We are seeing him roll out the first efforts to replace careerists, people who are experts, people who know what they're doing. They know how to serve the American people. We are seeing them being replaced by people whose only qualification, and I mean that, their only qualification is their loyalty to Donald Trump. I mean, Paige, we saw, we saw this coming a mile away at Democracy Docket. I hope everyone has been subscribed, and if you haven't already, you take the chance now to become a subscriber to Democracy Docket's free daily and weekly newsletters. The link is in the show notes below and above.
One thing to know to fully understand Schedule F is the way the federal government works. At the top of every federal agency and organization, you have political appointees. These are people like the Attorney General, like the head of the FBI, like the Secretary of Defense. Political appointees are people who change with every administration. They often get confirmed by the Senate, but they are top of an organization aligned with the political party in the White House. However, the vast majority of federal employees, the people actually carrying out the day-to-day duties of the federal government, are career civil servants who are nonpartisan. They do not change with the administration. It is all merit-based hiring and promotion. Those are the people that Donald Trump is now targeting.
Right. And he's targeting them because they are merit-based, right? I mean, look, authoritarians tend to not draw to their movement the best and the brightest when it comes to people who want to work in government. They attract people who are sycophants. They attract people who are yes men. They attract people who want to gain some private benefit from being associated with a strongman ruler. And I think we've seen all of those things around Donald Trump before, and we are seeing them even more so now. So Donald Trump surrounds himself with people who tell him what he wants to hear. And he surrounds himself with people who are constantly telling him how smart he is, how he's extraordinary, how he has superhuman powers and strengths. You know, it's all the stuff that the rest of us mock. You know, he believes, and so he wants those people, and he wants them not just in the highest positions of government. You know, you mentioned the Attorney General Pam Bondi. What's she? She's an election denier, right? Why did she get picked? She got picked because she was a fervent election denier after 2020. You mentioned the FBI director. Why'd he get picked? Because he wrote a children's book. Kash Patel wrote a children's book in which Donald Trump is the hero and Hillary Clinton is the villain. Okay, I mean, like you couldn't make this up. And of course, he keeps an enemies list of people who he thinks wronged Donald Trump. Look at Pete Hegseth. Look at Tulsi Gabbard. Look at almost everyone who he appoints to political positions. Well, that's not enough for him. That's not enough for him. He wants to do the same thing there at the lower levels. Why? Because when people, when the legacy media says, well, don't really worry so much about Kash Patel because, you have these professional FBI agents. Don't really worry so much about, Pete Hegseth. You have professional people in the Pentagon. Don't worry so much about, what Robert Kennedy will do in HHS. You have all of these, scientists and career professionals. You and I are being told that by the legacy media to be assured. Donald Trump is hearing something different. He is hearing, oh, wait, there may be a speed bump. There may be an obstacle to getting done what I want. So I want to get rid of those people. Now, I'm here to tell you what the legacy media doesn't, which is that Donald Trump is going to replace those people because Donald Trump is an authoritarian at his core. And he wants to have unbridled power. And the only way he's going to do that is by replacing people who are principled or who are careerists. And so, make no mistake about that. There's no both sides in this issue. But Paige, that is why Schedule F is in some sense the most important thing to Donald Trump, right? All of the rest of it flows out of a compliant government.
Marc, and what we're talking about isn't our own imagination coming out of nowhere. Trump's own executive order reissuing Schedule F says, in recent years, however, there have been numerous and well-documented cases of career federal employees resisting or undermining the policies and directives of their executive leadership, the executive leadership being the president. And in this reissued Schedule F, it includes a provision that explicitly says federal employees do not have to support the president, but they have to implement his policies. And I think that's an interesting change from the original Schedule F, right? It almost seems like they're trying to cover their tracks and be like, no, you don't have to politically align with us. But if you're in our way, we're going to fire you no matter what.
Yeah, they're just trying to take out of the equation any sense of intent, right? They're trying to say, look, when they get challenged and go to court, they want to say, look, Your Honor, we're not saying what people have to believe, we're just saying what people have to do. So they're trying to take that off the table. But that also kind of belies a lot of what we know, right? There has been reporting and some good reporting about loyalty, questions of loyalty being asked to career people. I think it was in some of the security agencies, who they voted for, who they support politically. So I think that is largely window dressing for a document. I don't think it is the reality of how this will be executed, and I don't think it's consistent, by the way, with Donald Trump's expectation. Like, this is one of these things that the lawyers put in and they tell him, oh, don't worry about it, this is just a bunch of language. I think Donald Trump believes that all of the people who work at the federal government should have to support him. And I don't just mean politically, they should have to support him in every life decision he makes. If he wakes up one day and says the sun rises in the west, they have to say, indeed, it is west when they point east, right? Like that's just what he wants. You see it. He likes to humiliate people around him. I mean, he has turned a bunch of proud billionaires into court jesters who he summons when he wants to have a meal with them or when he wants to put them on stage and sort of parade them around. And that is who he is. So I don't think he believes this. But regardless of that language, Paige, the bottom line is that what Schedule F is about is part of a larger effort to say to the federal government, there is only one man. And whatever rules you may have, whatever agency regulations you may have, whatever expertise you may have, it doesn't matter. There is only one man. And if that one man says the sun rises in the west, you are to say the sun rises in the west. If that one man says that you can inject bleach to cure disease, even though it will poison people, you are to say, inject bleach. Like, he doesn't want any expertise. He just wants people to do what he says. And that is a dangerous thing for the country. It's a dangerous thing for the government. And again, Paige, I hate to keep coming back to this, but boy, has the legacy media failed us on this. I mean, they have just utterly collapsed in the last few months. I mean, they weren't great before the election, but they've just collapsed in the last few months. And that is one of the reasons why Democracy Docket has expanded its aperture a bit to cover more of this anti-Trump litigation, this accountability litigation, because it is so important that at this moment in time, there are news outlets that are willing to be fearless and standing up to Donald Trump.
Speaking of accountability litigation, a federal workers union has filed a lawsuit against Schedule F. Democracy Docket is keeping an eye on, and we'll keep you updated throughout this lawsuit through our free daily and weekly newsletters. So make sure you're subscribed to that. Marc, you mentioned billionaires, so we can't pass up the opportunity to mention the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, that's being led by Elon Musk. Elon Musk also pushed Trump to sign executive orders ordering federal workers back in the office full-time to end work from home to end work from home policies, as well as institute a federal hiring freeze across the executive branch while DOGE does its work to determine what areas of the federal government could be cut or slimmed down.
Yeah. So, first of all, there is no greater misnomer than the Department of Government Efficiency. Number one, it is not a department. Number two, it is not part of the government. Number three, so far, there is nothing that suggests it is very efficient. I think it's already gone through its co-lead. I think it was originally had two people heading it. It now has one person heading it, as I recall, Paige.
Yes, that person didn't get to lead DOGE, didn't get a Senate seat, but now they're eyeing Ohio's governor's seat.
Yeah. So Vivek, if you're listening, sorry, I don't think you're going to be governor either. But look, the fact is that all of these things are connected. Donald Trump wants loyal supplicants. Elon Musk is like loyal supplicant with a checkbook, right? Like he does what Donald Trump wants, and he's very, very rich. And by the way, Elon also gets stuff from it from Trump. Like, it's he probably more than most of the billionaires knows how to play that system. But the fact is that we're going to see a lot of efforts to replace government on the merits with these sort of ad hoc advisory councils. By the way, that has also been sued. There's litigation against DOGE for violating federal law. There's been several of those lawsuits. Democracy Docket is tracking those. But there are going to be all of these cockamamie, harebrained ideas about how to undermine the professional, nonpartisan federal government with people who are loyal to Donald Trump or to Elon Musk or other people who are doing Donald Trump's bidding. And we, Paige and I, along with the entire Democracy Docket team, are going to be covering that. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be standing up to it and educating you. So please make sure you're subscribed to Democracy Docket's free daily and weekly newsletters. The link is above and in the show notes below, and we will see you next time.